Hello, everyone. Welcome to News Now, the Belmont Journal's daily update on what's going on in the community of Belmont. I'm your host, Roger Colton. I have with me today Franklin Tucker, the editor and publisher of the Belmontonian, Belmont's online source for hyperlocal news. Franklin, the override on Tuesday night failed. There are meetings now on how to respond. Most of the conversation this week has been within the schools.
That's right. Right now, the schools are the focal point because they will see a large number of the cuts that are coming. But one person who wants to keep everybody's hopes high is the superintendent of schools, John Phelan. At a Thursday meeting, morning meeting, he said that there's no panic on Pleasant Street. He is not panicking. He knows that these things happen. For the last 7 years, he said we had adequate funding, and this is just and this coming year is going to be less than adequate. But he said, if you remember what Belmont was like, a decade ago, every year we were in a situation where we didn't have adequate funding, and we had to have a list of people who were going to fire. This time they are making the list. And what's going to be happening is that we will see pink slips beginning on April 30th. Those are for hires who were brought into the system to help with COVID issues, such as technology and things like that. They were only 1 year hires, so this is not something that's was not unexpected. They wanted to keep them if the override had passed. They wanted to keep a few of them because they are important. But those people will be fired. The big day will be May 15th. That is when more than a dozen, I think, teachers, administrators, the people the people who teach your kids, who greet you in the morning, they're going to be pink slipped.
And May 15th, let's make clear to folks that that's not an arbitrary date. That's not a threat. That is a date that's set in stone by the union contract.
That's right. And that's simply to allow those teachers enough leeway that they can find a job by September in another district. So that's important. Both the town and the schools say that they have already, back in January, they made an alternative budget, which is if the override did not pass, these numbers were already known. It's interesting to hear both Mr. Phelan and Patrice Garvin, who's our town administrator, kind of say, it's still a fluid situation. And I think the fluid situation has to do with two things. One is state aid. The legislature will present its budget, which will have local aid in that. We don't know how much difference that is going to be with the governor's budget, and that will have to be negotiated. And we will then have a more a better sense of what that figure is going to be. That's one of the reasons why the budget section of the Belmont town meeting is in June, because we were having a hard time figuring out exactly how much state aid we were getting, that we pushed it as far back as possible. The second, of course, is the American Rescue Act. That is the $7.2 million that is going to Belmont. The people who were supporting the no vote were saying, "Oh, there's our solution. We can put almost all that money into our bottom line." Other people have read the act and said, we have to be far more cautious, because right now, if you read the act, it's only about $1.1 million that can be coming into our bottom line.
And I'd like to go back to the layoffs for a minute, looking forward, because I think people will be interested in knowing who's most likely to go first. And it's not a last hired, first fired situation. It's
not
more complicated.
Not at all. What Mr. Phelan has been saying, and the Leadership Council has been saying, is that we're going to look at enrollment. And right now we're seeing a little bit less of an increase in enrollment in the elementary schools, but we know there's going to be a larger amount in the middle school and high school. They are going what they're using for their for their standard is the 2019 pre-COVID enrollments. They believe, Dr. Phelan believes that most of those kids, there's about 250 kids who have left the system. They'll be coming back because, that's what he's, learned over time. There are some people who say it's going to be lower. He doesn't think so. So he's already thinking about this is going to be an issue where if you're going to make cuts, the majority of cuts are going to be in the elementary, especially for educators, will be in the elementary schools because you'll need less of those, but you'll certainly need those. You'll certainly need those in the middle and high school. There's also an issue that the schools want to keep a diversity director, a diversity director, and maybe another like a social worker. So if they want to keep those two positions, they're going to have to fire even more people on either in the administration or educators.
So a phrase that we've heard this week, and I think we'll hear a lot more of, is protect the core. Can you explain what that means and what the implications are?
It could be very stunning what the implications. And the school committee is saying, look, we have to protect what schools do, and that is teach kids. So we need to have as many teachers as possible. We don't want to have rooms that are 45, 50 kids. We want to have something that's reliable and something that teachers can teach. So you're going to have to keep your teachers. That means everything else, could be thrown overboard, as one school committee member said. And that is, let's talk about extracurriculums. The entire extracurriculum program, whether it's sports, theater, art, music, important things. We talk a lot about how important sports are, but we have an outstanding, just a top-notch theater program. We have a top-notch music program. The awards we get and the number of kids we bring to districts, incredible. We have activists who have clubs to go to, like environmental. Those things could leave if we don't. Number one, if we don't have an override, or if an override fails in the next couple of years. Let's say some people are saying we can't. The town is not ready for an override for 2 to 3 years. If you have to protect teachers or you have to protect sports and all the others, you're going to protect teachers. And that's just the hard facts about it. And if you get rid of those, as they said before, there's a lot of data of showing school systems that have gotten rid of sports or not gotten rid of sports, but let sports stop because of budget issues. They don't come back. You lose so much in terms of students who want to do these things. They don't snap your finger, and you get rid of the theater department. You don't snap your finger after 3 years, and it just comes back. It just won't.
Okay, let's close the door on the implications of the no vote. The Belmont Journal and News Now will keep people up to date on a week-to-week basis and on a day-to-day basis as news develops. Let's talk about COVID-19. There is extra vaccine in Belmont now.
That's right. We received, I don't know if it's the last time Belmont will receive a vaccine, but Wesley Chen said that we had 100 vials of vaccine, and 40 have been used. And he said there's 60 left. So call the health department if you'd like a chance to get a shot. He also said he also is starting up a great program with the fire department that in-home people who are in their homes, whether it's because they're aged or their illness, and they can't, get out. The town is going to try to find out who you are, and they're going to bring the vaccine to you.
So that's good news on the COVID-19 front.
That's right.
Thanks for bringing us up to date. We've been talking with Franklin Tucker, the editor and publisher of the Belmontonian. You've been watching News Now, the Belmont Journal's daily update on what's going on in the community of Belmont. Thanks for watching. I'm your host, Roger Colton. I'll talk with you again next time.